7 college friends drove into Cherokee National Forest on a Friday morning. They filmed everything: the drive, the gas station, the trailhead, each other, laughing. By Sunday, they were supposed to be home. They never came back. No bodies, no trail, no explanation. 3 months later, a maintenance worker found their camcorder wedged between 2 rocks near a drainage ditch. Casing cracked, lens shattered, but the tape was still inside. And what it captured in its final minutes, no one was ready for. Knoxville, Tennessee, late August 1998. 7 friends, end of summer. One last trip before the semester pulled them apart. Tyler Hayes, 21, the planner. Steady, methodical. He double-checked the maps before anyone thought to ask. He brought his father's Sony Hi8 camcorder, a chunky silver thing that felt important to carry. Drew Callahan, 22, Tyler's opposite, impulsive, confident, always behind the wheel. His girlfriend Katie Monroe rode shotgun, leaning out the window, filming the caravan behind them. Emily Ward, journalism major, quiet curiosity, the one who noticed things others didn't. Her roommate Brianna filled every silence with commentary. That made the tape feel alive. Jordan McCoy, the group's outdoors expert, tall, patient, the one who'd done the actual research. His girlfriend Leah Parsons had never camped before. She went because Jordan loved it. 7 people, 3 cars, enough food for 3 days, a camera that would record everything. The footage from that morning shows them completely at ease. Drew pretending to interview the others at a gas station near Tellico Plains, everyone laughing. It's the kind of footage that could belong to any group of friends. The calm before something no one saw coming. Their destination, a decommissioned fire lookout tower, on a ridge called Black Hollow, not on any official trail map. Jordan had found it on an online hiking forum, said it would make great footage. The tape shows them arriving at a gravel pull-off late that afternoon. Behind the cars, the forest looked endless. Green shadows, whispering wind, a faint smell of rain. You can hear Katie asking if this is really the right spot. Jordan laughs. Trailhead's right up there, pointing toward what looks more like an animal path than anything official. They unload their gear. Sleeping bags, a cooler, 2 tents. The others joke that Jordan is going to get them lost. By sunset, the group is 3 miles deep, following a faint trail through thick underbrush. The footage turns shaky as the light fades. Leah can be heard saying she feels like they've been walking in circles. Tyler checks his compass, frowns, says something about the reading being off, maybe interference from the rock. They keep going. The next clip is from that night. A small campfire. 7 faces, orange in the firelight. Brianna narrates, Night 1, Black Hollow, us. It feels warm, nostalgic, almost ordinary, until you notice, just for a second, Tyler glancing over his shoulder toward the tree line. They were supposed to return Sunday evening. When Monday came and no one showed up, it didn't seem urgent. End of summer, maybe one more night, maybe car trouble. By Tuesday, parents were calling each other. Drew's mother couldn't reach his cell. Emily's roommate said her bed hadn't been slept in. By Wednesday, police were notified. Searchers arrived at the trailhead that same day. All 3 vehicles were still parked exactly where they'd been left. Clean, undamaged, locked. Inside Drew's Jeep, maps, a disposable camera, Katie's purse. In Tyler's Honda, extra clothes, snacks, a spare fuel canister, neatly stacked. No broken glass, no signs of panic, no indication they'd left in a hurry. It was as if the group had simply walked into the forest and never looked back. Within 24 hours, full search operations underway. Helicopters low over the treetops, tracking dogs from 3 counties, rangers dividing the terrain into search grids. Cherokee National Forest, 500,000 acres. Dense canopy, uneven ridgelines, narrow valleys where sound disappears. Teams found faint traces, a piece of fabric snagged on a branch, what looked like boot prints near a creek bed. Then the rain came, hard, 2 days straight. It washed away most of what remained. Within 48 hours, even the scent dogs lost track. Families slept in their cars at the ranger station. Volunteers combed the undergrowth with flashlights. At one point, a tracker thought he heard a woman's voice echoing across a ridge. They called out. Nothing. The official report described it as an immediate and total disappearance. The only item recovered in those first weeks, a single mud-caked hiking boot found near a creek 4 miles from the cars. Investigators compared it to stills from the tape. It belonged to Leah Parsons. It offered no explanation, only dread. Almost 3 months after they vanished, a park maintenance worker found their camcorder, wedged between 2 rocks near a drainage culvert. Battery dead, casing cracked, lens shattered, but inside, the tape was still there. When investigators pressed play, the laughter of 7 young friends filled the room. The gas station, the drive, the campfire. And then, the last 15 minutes. The footage is dark and unstable. The camera swings, footsteps, rapid breathing, someone moving fast, or trying to. A flashlight sweeps across the base of a structure. A metal door, half open, rust on the hinges. The tower. Then a voice, barely above a whisper. Someone's out there. Then static. The tape ends. Investigators reviewed the footage for months. Frame by frame, multiple passes. The last usable sequence, roughly 40 seconds, shows the group clustered near the base of the tower. The image is heavily degraded, grain thick, light sources inconsistent, camera motion blurring almost every frame. But in one frame, a detail, a shape in the background, partially obscured by the tree line, standing still while everything else is moving. Investigators could not determine, with the image quality available in 1998, whether it was a person, a shadow, or camera distortion. The case went cold. Years became decades. Tyler's father printed missing posters for years. Emily's brother drove out to the forest every weekend for months, walking until exhaustion turned him back. By the 2000s, the case had faded from national coverage. In the towns bordering Cherokee Forest, it had never left. One ranger, when asked directly about the area near Black Hollow, said only, "There are parts of that forest we don't go back into." He didn't elaborate. In 2022, a documentary production team reached out to the families. Most hesitated. Some had spent years trying to forget. Others still hoped new eyes might find something everyone else had missed. The film, The Lost Weekend, What the Forest Hid, premiered in late 2022. It featured restored portions of the tape for the first time, newly stabilized, contrast-enhanced, frame-by-frame processing that simply wasn't possible in 1998. And in that footage, that same background shape. Now, clearer. Forensic analysts spent weeks on that single frame. Using stabilization and contrast enhancement, they worked to separate the figure from the noise around it. What they described was a human silhouette, standing several feet behind the group, facing them directly. Motionless, dark jacket, light trousers, what appeared to be a wide-brimmed hat. They were careful with their language. They did not claim certainty. The image quality, even enhanced, left real room for doubt. But they said, with measured confidence, that the figure did not appear to match any of the 7 campers. The positioning, the stillness, the clothing, none of it corresponded to what the group was wearing, or where they stood in that frame. They could not explain who it was. The documentary team dug into the history of that specific tower and found a name in a 1974 county archive. Robert Clay, a volunteer fire lookout assigned to the Black Hollow Watchtower. He disappeared in fall of 1974, listed as a missing person after failing to check in during a routine patrol. His cabin was found in order, his logbook open on the desk. No struggle, no note. Official explanation: a fall or disorientation in bad weather. No body was ever found. In his recovered field notes, a final entry dated 2 days before he vanished. Heard the voices again tonight. Sounded like they were coming from below. The line was circled twice in red pencil. Beneath it, a note in different handwriting, possibly a supervisor's. Tower closed until further notice. The documentary team was direct about what they could and couldn't claim. No investigator would draw a formal line between Clay's disappearance and 1998, but they presented the facts plainly. Same ridge, same tower. 2 disappearances, 24 years apart, neither explained. Gerald McAdams, an elderly ranger who'd worked the region in the 1970s, agreed to speak on camera. He said the tower had been considered off-limits, long before it was officially closed. "We used to hear things," he said. Voices from the hollow at night. Sometimes sounded like people calling for help, sometimes like laughter. He paused for a long moment. "We told ourselves it was wind through the ridge." He didn't finish the sentence. The documentary's final act returned to the tape. One last time, one last frame, enhanced as far as the degraded footage would allow. The figure was still there, still standing, still facing the group, and this time, just visible enough to raise a question no one had properly asked. Not who was standing there, but how long they had been standing there. Tyler's father, Richard, now gray, soft-spoken, said he still visited the forest every August. "I used to think if I just kept looking I'd find them," he said. "Now I think maybe the forest doesn't want to be found. Maybe it just wants to be left alone." Emily's sister held a photo of her, taken the week before the trip. "At least now we know they weren't imagining it," she said. "There really was someone there." She looked at the photo for a long moment, whether they were alive or not. The tower at Black Hollow no longer exists. It collapsed sometime in the early 2000s. Only the steel base remains, half buried in vines and root systems. No sign, no fence, no marker, nothing to indicate what happened there. The 7 campers were never found. No remains, no additional physical evidence, no answer that anyone could take home and live with. What exists is the tape, 40 seconds of degraded footage, a shape in a single frame, a whisper. The documentary ends with drone footage of the forest as it looks today. Mist drifting between the trees. Morning light on moss-covered stone. The camera holds on the ground where the tower once stood. Then, in the final seconds, the audio fades almost entirely. And beneath the silence, barely audible, breathing, the same sound captured on the last seconds of the camper tape, 24 years earlier, then nothing. If you stayed until the end, thank you. Everything in this story comes from recovered footage, archived case files, and records. That spent over 2 decades in county storage, before anyone thought to look again. The figure in that frame has never been identified. The voices described by Gerald McAdams have never been explained. And 7 people who walked into Cherokee Forest in August 1998 have never come home. Tyler, Drew, Katie, Emily, Brianna, Jordan, Laya. They filmed everything, right up until they couldn't. What moment in this story stayed with you? Leave it in the comments. I read everyone. If cases like this are what keep you coming back, make sure you're subscribed. Because some stories were never meant to be found. And the ones that surface anyway tend to leave more questions than answers.